What's up everybody, it's Robin Gaming here. So, the man, the myth, the legend, Michael Pachter has been interviewed about the PlayStation 5. For those of you who don't know who Michael Pachter is, he's pretty much like a research analyst at a pretty big company out there, does a lot of consulting on pretty much, you know, the gaming industry and stuff. So he helps other companies out with kind of playing into the future of gaming, I guess, and helping them out with their strategies, deciding what to do for what the future is going to be holding for them as far as, yeah, gaming goes, you know, consoles and PC, hardware, sales, all that kind of stuff. That's why a lot of gamers like to kind of make fun of him, because as somebody who, of course, you know, does a lot of consulting and makes predictions, he's gonna be wrong plenty of times, right? But at the same time, I do personally believe Michael Pachter is a pretty knowledgeable guy. He knows what he's talking about. He's also highly respected with big companies out there already, and he has been right plenty of times before as well. Don't get it wrong, you know? So I think what he says, yeah, is definitely worth talking about. Now, Michael Pachter was pretty much interviewed about his thoughts on the PlayStation 5. I find it funny that we're already starting to talk about the PlayStation 5 slowly, more and more. Of course, we're still going to be quite a while away. I see a lot of people actually being a little concerned about that, the fact that the PlayStation 5 is already being talked about. But I remember very well in the previous generation, you know, with the PlayStation 3, that it was around 2010/11 already that we were talking about the PS4, you know, with games coming out like Battlefield 3, where you saw that the PC version already had its advantages a lot with the graphics, but also with the fact that you had the 64-player battles, whereas the consoles, you know, the versions looked a lot worse, 24-player battles, so people were already starting to kind of ask for new hardware. It still took a while for it to come out, like 2 or 3 years, so don't worry too much about it. It's just fun to talk about, right? So, pretty much what Michael Pachter said, right, about the PlayStation 5 is 3 very interesting things. He said that he thinks the PlayStation 5 will be releasing in 2019. He said that it will be just another half step, kind of like the PS4 Pro. And the third and last thing is that he said it will be backwards compatible with the PlayStation 4 in his personal opinion. Now, I guess in this video I'm pretty much here to, yeah, share my thoughts with you all and say if I agree with him or not. And honestly, if I look at what he says, I think he is gonna be, or he is, in my opinion, pretty spot on. And I think, you know, I have very similar thoughts about the PlayStation 5. So let's talk about it. The very first point he made was that the PlayStation 5 will be releasing in 2019. Now, personally, if I would pick a year right now, 2019 would be the same year as well, maybe 2020. Those are kind of the 2 years that I've got in mind that I think PlayStation is going to release their next hardware. Look, it's very simple. Console generations have traditionally lasted around 5 to 6 years. Last generation was a big exception to that rule. Last generation took about 7 years in total for PlayStation. You know, the PlayStation 3 came out, I think it was like the end of 2006, pretty much, right? And even the beginning of 2007 in certain other countries, I think, and then the PlayStation 4 released at the end of 2013. That generation took 7 years, and a big reason for it was the financial crisis. People weren't really willing to invest into new consoles as much and stuff. There were big reasons why the PlayStation 3 generation took so long, and it was one of the longest generations that we've ever had. I don't think the PlayStation 4 will be lasting as long. At the same time, you could kind of look at it in the way that, you know, Sony wants to prolong this generation as long as possible because they are doing so well. The PlayStation 4 is so successful. So, you know, the 2018 stories that we've been hearing, that's in my opinion just too early. That would be 5 years. Yeah, why would Sony want to kind of like, you know, stop with this generation when it has been doing so well for them, when the sales are still going strong? So I really don't believe 2018, like some other people have been saying, is going to happen. That's just too early in my opinion. But 2019 and maybe 2020, in my opinion, those are the years where we're gonna see something happening. The reason why is, of course, that Sony will still have competition. You've got the Xbox One X coming out, which for the foreseeable future is gonna be the most powerful console out there, and Sony will want to react to that eventually. They can't just, you know, they can't just literally keep it this way for so long to the point where Microsoft is gonna be playing catch up with them, right? Eventually they have to do something about it and they have to react. It's also gonna be interesting to see, of course, how it's going to sell, how they will play into that, what the Switch is going to do in the future, but you can't just constantly stand still with that. Now, at the same time, the PlayStation 4 Pro released 3 years after the PS4 came out. It seems like a perfect plan that the PlayStation 4 Pro comes out in the middle of the generation, just like PSVR, right? comes out in the middle. That's 3 years after the original came out. So then it makes sense that 3 years after that, the next console will be coming out, and that's the PlayStation 5. And what year would that be? Yes, that would be 2019. So in my personal opinion, 2019 is going to be the year that we'll see the PlayStation 5 release. Now, what he said about it being just another half step like the PS4 Pro, I think that's also pretty obvious, and the reason why is that, and obviously what he means is not necessarily that it's going to be another half console like that. It's going to, of course, be the PlayStation 5, and it will be called that, and it will be looked at as a big new generation. But let's be honest, they will want this console to once again cost $400. It seems like that is the sweet spot for a console to come out at launch. That's what Sony is going to want to do in the future. They did that with the PS4 in 2013. They came out with pretty much, you know, the most powerful console they could come out with for the $400 price tag. That would still make them a profit, and that's what they did with the PS4 in 2013. With the Pro, they've kind of done the exact same thing. It was still a $400 console, and so they upped the specs a tiny bit to the point where that was possible. They increased mainly the GPU, a little bit of the CPU as well, and some other things. But generally, you know, it was like a small upgrade compared to the PS4 for the same price that it launched at when it came out, right? So that's why. And that's why we're also going to see that the PS5 will, for the same price, be once again a little bit of an incremental step where compared to the Pro, it's not going to be that much more powerful. We'll see once again an increased GPU that is going to make sure that we're going to be playing all our games in 4K, you know, possibly by that point. Of course, 4K TVs will have sold much better at that point too. But hopefully we'll also really see a big CPU increase, a memory increase, so that we can actually see our games, you know, looking better, having better AI, having better textures and stuff. And it's not just the resolution that's increased, but hopefully also the things that are possible in games, and that will be able to make old PS4 games run better at an actual 60 frames per second refresh rate. And the last thing what he says, and this kind of plays into that too, is that it will be backwards compatible, of course, with the PlayStation 4. And this is something I've been saying ever since the beginning that the PlayStation 4 was announced. There is a very interesting move Sony made with PS4 compared to their previous consoles. Their previous consoles always used to have their own architecture that was very kind of like complicated, hard to develop for, especially PS3 with the cell processor and stuff. With the PlayStation 4, Sony decided to go with an x86 architecture, a very simple PC-like architecture. And what that means is that if they keep using this architecture moving forward, not only does it make developers, does it make it very easy for developers to make games for the platform, no, it also means that it's going to be able to keep playing the same games that came out on previous versions. This is why the PlayStation 4 Pro is technically already a different console with different hardware. It is more powerful than the original PS4, but guess what? It can still play those old PS4 games just fine. The exact same thing will be happening with the PlayStation 5, sorry. It will be able to play all the PS4 games, the PS4 Pro, but that's, you know, like I said, that's just the PS4, right? So it will be able to play those old PS4 games. Plus, at the same time, what's really nice about it is that Sony can kind of smoothen out the generation so easily, because people will not feel super inclined to upgrade yet. They can keep riding on the bandwagon of the PlayStation 4 success, because people that will be buying into the PS5 can still enjoy their PS4 games. And so in that way, you're not going to have to say goodbye to everything that you've owned like you did with the PS4 now compared to the PS3. No, you're simply going to be able to continue with that. And so people that already are invested into the PS4 ecosystem are going to be able to keep using that moving forward with the PlayStation 5. But of course, the PlayStation 5, or sorry, the PS4 won't be forwards compatible with the PS5. It's not going to be to the point where you can play PS5 exclusive on PS4. I mean, it's going to be the other way around, like, right? You're going to be able to play PS4 games on your PS5. So the people who do upgrade will see an extra advantage in that. And it's something that I think now a lot of fans have been asking for. Where is the backwards compatibility? It's such a big, still, in a way, selling point of the Xbox that people like a lot about it. They can still play the old games on the Xbox One that came out, you know, on the 360 and on the original Xbox now even. So yeah, with that being said, I think Michael Pachter is pretty spot on with all the predictions he made there. I totally kind of stand behind him. So I would like to know your thoughts about the PlayStation 5. How do you see the future of the console? Yeah, let me know that in the comments, of course. And then for now, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a quick like to help support my channel. So thanks a lot for watching, and hope to see you again next time.